Born on December 11, 1916, in the richly Afro-Cuban city of Matanzas, Cuba, Damaso Perez Prado emerged into a household steeped in education and discipline. His mother, Sara Prado, worked as a schoolteacher, while his father, Pablo Perez, earned his living as a journalist. From a young age, Damaso exhibited a precocious fascination with music, beginning formal piano studies with Rafael Somavilla. Early exposure to classical European composers built a strong foundation, but the syncopated heartbeats of Cuba's bustling streets, the timbres of the Afro-Caribbean undercurrent, called to him with irresistible force. In his adolescence and early adulthood, Prado sought opportunities to hone his skills by playing organ and piano at local cinemas and clubs. By the time he reached Havana in the early 1940s, he had become an ambitious, eccentric figure in the nightclub scene. His early work with orchestras such as the Orquesta Cubana and the Paulina Alvarez Ensemble helped him develop a complex, rhythmically intricate style of arranging. He later joined the revered Orquesta Casino de la Playa, working with singer Cascarita, which gave Prado his first meaningful platform as both pianist and arranger. Though small in physical stature, Prado projected immense presence. His reputation grew not only for his brash piano techniques, often considered ahead of their time, but for his equally flamboyant personality. Nicknamed El Cara de Foca, seal face, he was seen as a curious oddity, a man possessed by the beats that ran through his veins. By the mid-1940s, Prado found himself at odds with Cuba's musical traditionalists, many of whom resented his jazz-infused reinterpretations of Afro-Cuban rhythms. Facing mounting opposition and dwindling opportunities, he made the consequential decision to leave Cuba in 1947. After a short stint in Puerto Rico, he embarked on a South American tour, encountering varied success in countries like Argentina and Venezuela. But it was in Mexico City in 1948 where he would finally find fertile ground. Settling in Mexico City proved transformative. Prado found work in the city's nightclubs, where his theatrical performances quickly attracted attention. He assembled an orchestra composed mostly of fellow Cuban expatriates and began experimenting with danzón, injecting it with brassy flourishes, percussive intensity, and the irresistible push of American swing. The result was a pulsing new rhythm that Prado dubbed mambo. In 1949, Prado signed with the Mexican division of RCA Victor and released the 78 RPM single containing Que Rico El Mambo and Mambo No. 5 Inches. The record exploded across Latin America. Within a year, arranger Sonny Burke adapted Que Rico El Mambo for American audiences as Mambo Jumbo, sparking interest north of the border. Prado's decision to tour the U.S. in 1951 was both strategic and risky, given the language barriers and musicians' union rules that forced him to rely on local talent. Yet his concerts, especially on the West Coast, were raucous spectacles. American audiences had never seen anything like the petite, manic bandleader who shouted, "Dilo! Say it!" while leaping into the air mid-performance. He snarled, stomped, and gestured with balletic intensity. Coupled with the unrelenting brass and roaring percussion, his shows whipped dance halls into frenzies. Despite a tragic 1951 bus accident in Texas that killed singer Delia Romero and seriously injured percussionist Mongo Santamaria, Prado pressed forward. That same decade, he ventured deeper into U.S. popular culture. His mambo compositions began appearing in films, and by 1955 he struck gold with Cherry Pink and Apple Blossom White, an adaptation of a French melody. Featuring a striking trumpet solo by Billy Regis, the song spent 10 weeks at #1 on the American charts and sold over 1 million copies. Prado was no longer just a Latin bandleader, he was an international celebrity. From the Waldorf Astoria to Hollywood, mambo was omnipresent, and Prado reigned at its core. His 1958 composition, Patricia marked another career peak. A sultry, hypnotic tune showcasing his organ prowess, it climbed to the top of the charts and later became immortalized in Federico Fellini's cinematic classic La Dolce Vita. But fame came at a cost. Critics from the Latin community began to distance themselves from Prado, accusing him of diluting Afro-Cuban traditions for mass consumption. Nonetheless, he retained a stronghold in Mexico and other parts of Latin America. While experimenting with new rhythms such as la culeta, el dengue, and even twist-style arrangements, Prado's attempts to recapture mambo's earlier magic failed to ignite the same frenzy. Prado's theatricality extended beyond the concert stage. His signature grunt, often mistaken as a primal oog, but actually a shouted "Dilo," became his vocal fingerprint. He also added high kicks, air punches, and vaudevillian antics that made him as much a performer as a conductor. He once explained, "I am a collector of cries and noises, of winds through trees and seagulls on the shore." For him, music was more than melody. It was elemental. Turbulence marred his family life. In 1956, he sued his younger brother Pantaleon, also a musician, for impersonating him in Europe. Though the case effectively sidelined Pantaleon, confusion reigned again in 1983 when Pantaleon died, and international outlets erroneously reported that it was Prado himself who had passed. His later years were spent mostly in Mexico, where he became a naturalized citizen in 1980. He lived in a comfortable apartment off Paseo de la Reforma with his wife and children, including his son, Perez Prado Jr., who would later carry on the orchestra. Despite declining health, Prado continued to perform across Latin America and Japan. He remained a fixture on Mexican television, his music eternally vibrant, even as disco and rock took over airwaves. On September 14, 1989, after suffering complications from a stroke, Perez Prado died in Mexico City at the age of 72. Though his name may not elicit immediate recognition from younger generations, his fingerprints are all over popular music. From Lou Bega's cheeky reboot of Mambo No 5 Inches in 1999 to the sultry sway of Patricia closing episodes of Real Sex, Prado's grooves continue to ripple through culture. His orchestra remains active, led by his son, and his catalog of work has seen consistent reissues. He remains a fixture in films, commercials, and retrospectives. His commitment to rhythm, performance, and musical daring ensured that his name would never fade into obscurity. For those who once packed into the Palladium Ballroom or clicked their heels in Havana dance halls, Prado's music was not a genre. It was liberation in 3/4. Time. Prado took the polyrhythmic soul of Afro-Cuba, shaped it through brass and swagger, and sent it barreling into the hearts of audiences across continents. Few musicians before or since have inspired such global dance fever. Fewer still managed to package sonic rebellion into such joyous celebration. The mambo didn't need a dictionary definition. It had Perez Prado.